Welcome to Flip Math Lesson 21 for the 6th grade, and today we're going to talk about divisibility and looking at some tricks that can help us understand the numbers that are going to allow us to do division a little bit faster. So there's a couple rules that we can follow when it comes to dividing certain numbers. And the rules that we're going to start with are known as the last digit rules. And so as we look at numbers, we're going to focus on the last digit of the number itself. And if the last digit of the number is an even number, we know that it will be divisible by 2, as our first statement tells us right here. Another rule that we can look for is if a number ends in 0 or 5, that means it's going to be divisible by 5. And if the last digit is 0, we for sure know that it's going to be divisible by 10. And so we can think about these 3 rules as we look at our numbers today. We can start with our first number, 9,665. We're going to focus on that last digit. And our first question, is it divisible by 2? Since we know that 5 is an odd number, we know that it is not divisible by 2 because our first rule states that if the last digit is even, it will be divisible by 2. And since it's an odd number, it's not going to work. Next, we can say, is it divisible by 5? And the quick answer is going to be yes, because it ends in the digit of 5, and the rule states that if it ends in a 5, then it's going to be divisible by 5. Then the next question would be, is it divisible by 10? And of course the answer is going to be no, because the last digit is not a 0. So we know that 665, according to the last digit rules, is not divisible by 2. It is not divisible by 10. It is only divisible by 5, looking at these rules. So now we can look at the numbers below and we can start to use these rules. And we can do these rather quickly. Looking at the last digit, 1, odd number, not divisible by 2. Doesn't end in 0 or 5, and so it's not divisible by 5 or 10. And so if this number is divisible, it is not divisible by 2, 5, or 10. Next one, look at the number 2. 2, even number, yes, divisible by 2. Does it end in a 0 or a 5? No, it is not divisible by 5. Does it end in just a 0? No, it is not divisible by 10. We can look here, 0. When we think about 0, well, technically 0 is not an even number because it's attached to the number 40. We know that 40 is an even number, and so this number is 2,340 is divisible by 2. Since it ends in a 0, it must be also divisible by 5 and by 10. And so you can use these rules to help you figure out whether the next 3 numbers are divisible by 2, 5, or 10. And so if you want to do that right now, go ahead and pause the video and try your first 3 samples to figure out what numbers, 2, 5, 10, apply to those things. Go ahead. Hopefully you've taken the time and did those 3 sample problems right there, just to get a quick review of that. The second rule that we're going to look at when it comes to divisibility is known as the sum of digits rule. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be adding up all our digits, and this is going to give us clues to see if a number is divisible by 3 or by 9. All right? It's important to not confuse this rule with our previous rule, the last digit rule. We're no longer looking at just the last digit to see if it's divisible by 3 or if it's divisible by 9. But instead, we're going to talk about the sum of the digits. So, for example, if we have 720, I'm going to take 7 plus 2, which gives me 9, plus 0. So my total here is 9 for the sum of the digits. Now the question is 9 divisible by 3? And the quick answer would be yes. So that means 720 is divisible by 3. Is the number 9 divisible by 9? 9 divided by 9, of course, is 1. And so the answer, once again, is yes. So that means 720 is also divisible by 9. So 720 is divisible by 3, and it's divisible by 9. We can see that very easily. We can go down to our next example, 684. We're going to add those digits together. So 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 4, sorry, 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 4 is a total of 18. Is 18 divisible by 3? Yes. That means 684 is divisible by 3. Is 18 divisible by 9? Yes. And so both of those numbers will go into 684. We can try 7,031. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 gives us 11. Does 3 go into 11? No. Does 9 go into 11? No. And so 3 or 9 do not work for this problem. Next we have 9 plus 4 is 13, plus 2 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So the sum of our digits is 16. Is 16 divisible by 3? No. Is 16 divisible by 9? No. And so looking at our first row of numbers, we can see that only 3 of our first number is the only one that is divisible by 3 and 9. And these two numbers, neither are divisible by 3 or 9. But we can use these rules to help us quicken the pace of how we do our division. So once again, take a minute, pause the video, and go ahead and try the sample problems on the bottom to see if 3 or 9 go into it. Once again, 3 or 9. Then I'll leave you with this last idea. If we have a number, when we talk about being able to divide numbers out of it, we're really talking about the factors that can create this number. And so we can apply this idea that we've looked at so far. We can apply the last digit rule, and we can apply the sum of digits rule to figure out which of these numbers, these 5 numbers, by applying the rules, are factors of 870. And so for your final sample problem, I want you to figure out which of these 5 numbers, 2, 3, 5, 9, and 10, go into 870 using the rules. Remember that as you work with 2, 5, and 10, you're going to use the last digit rule. And as you work with 3 and 9, you're going to work with the sum of the digits rule. All right, good luck, and that is the end of lesson 21.